Good morning, boys and girls. Today I will be reading you a book about growing. Every living thing has its own way of beginning and its own way of growing. In this book, Oscar and the Frog, a book about growing, we'll listen to how frogs, kittens, and plants begin and how they grow. Even though this book has animals that will be talking, which couldn't really happen in the real world, this book is informational. It gives us information about how things grow. So as I'm reading the book, be thinking about things that you hear that couldn't really happen, but be listening for true facts that tell us information about how things grow and change. Oscar and the Frog, a book about growing. Jeff Waring. Who's the author of this book? Did you say Jeff Waring? That's the author's name right here. One spring day by the pond, Oscar saw some creatures he had not seen before. Frog hopped up. "They're tadpoles," Frog said. "I was a tadpole before I grew up." Oscar stared at Frog. He didn't look like a tadpole at all. "Don't be silly, Frog," Oscar said, laughing. Why do you think Oscar was laughing? Why wouldn't he believe Frog? Do you think it's because Frog looks so different from the little tadpoles? "It's true," Frog said, and he told Oscar how frogs grow. "At first, I looked like a dot in the egg. I grew in the eggs, then hatched out as a wriggly tadpole. I could breathe underwater through gills like a fish. I was hungry for pondweed. It helped me grow. Later, my gills disappeared as I grew lungs to breathe air with. I grew back legs, then front legs, and my tail started to shrink. After 3 months, I was a little frog. I kicked my new legs and jumped out of the water to live on the bank." See if you can remember what happens after the frog starts out as an egg. You can pause the video and tell someone what happens after the frog starts out as an egg. "What else hatches out of eggs?" Oscar asked. They looked in the pond. Frog showed Oscar some eggs that had been laid underwater. Many water snails lay their eggs in pouches of jelly on stones or plants. Dragonflies often lay their eggs on a plant stem just below the water. Fish lay lots of eggs. The perch winds hers in threads around plant twigs or stones. They looked on the bank, and Frog showed Oscar some eggs that had been laid where it's dry. Many kinds of butterflies lay their eggs on the undersides of leaves. When caterpillars hatch out of the eggs, they eat the leaves. Many birds lay their eggs in nests high off the ground. Here, the chicks will be safe from animals who might want to eat them when they hatch. Ducks often nest on the ground close to water, so their ducklings will be able to swim quickly away from danger. What do you remember that hatches out of eggs? Let's look back. What are some things that hatch out of eggs? Do you remember what this was? A snail. What else? Dragonflies. Fish. Butterflies. And birds. What do you think is different about where dragonflies lay their eggs and where birds lay their eggs. Do you remember that birds lay their eggs in nests off the ground? But dragonflies lay their eggs where? In the water, just below the water, on the stem of a plant. Do plants hatch out of eggs? Oscar asked. No, said Frog. Most plants sprout from seeds. Each plant makes its own kind of seed. The seeds of apple trees are stored inside their fruit. Strawberry plants have small seeds on the outsides of their fruit. Do you notice how the pictures give more information about the seeds? The words tell us the kind of fruit, but the picture shows us more what those seeds look like. Do you see that the seeds of an apple are bigger than the seeds of a strawberry? Let's see what else the pictures show us on the next page. Poppy plants have tiny seeds. They are light enough to be carried by the wind. Coconuts are the seeds of coconut palm trees. They are huge and can float. Most seeds ripen above the ground, but the seeds of the peanut plant grow in the earth. What information do you notice that the pictures give us about the seeds that the words don't say? I think that the pictures show us that seeds can be big or really small. Did I hatch out of an egg or did I sprout from a seed? Oscar asked. Neither, said Frog. You were born. You looked a lot like you do now, only much smaller, with fur and paws, ears and a tail. You were hungry for milk from your mother. Why was I hungry for milk? Oscar asked. It helped you to grow, said Frog. Milk for you, pondweed for me. Leaves for the caterpillars. And bugs for those baby birds. We all need different food to grow. What do these pages tell us about the kind of food that different animals need? Is it the same? No. Some animals need milk, some animals need plants, and some animals eat bugs. Ew! Different animals eat different food. Why do you think that all baby animals need food? They need it to grow, just like you. Oscar stretched. I am so big now, he told Frog. But you're not as big as you will be, said Frog. Are you? Asked Oscar. Yes, Frog answered. I've stopped growing now. I'm as big as I'm going to get. How long does it take to grow up? Oscar asked. It depends, said Frog. This flower will be full grown in a few days. But this young tree won't be tall until you are a very old cat. Which grows more quickly, a flower or a tree? That's right, a flower grows more quickly. They take different amounts of time to grow up. The baby birds will be as big as their parents next spring, Frog went on. But the tadpoles will take 3 springs or more to be as big as I am. Each living thing takes its own time. Which one has grown up sooner? The tadpoles or the baby birds? Do you remember? Yeah, it's the baby birds. The words say the baby birds will be as big as their parents next spring. But how long does it take tadpoles to be as big as frog? 3 springs. When they say springs, that means a whole year goes by. Just then, Oscar saw that his mother was coming. "What about me?" he asked Frog. "How long will I stay a kitten?" "You will be a full-grown cat by winter," Frog said, "as big as your mother is now." Oscar looked at his mother. She was much bigger than he was. "Don't be silly, Frog," he said, laughing. "It's true," Frog said. "Wait and see." These pages are a little bit different. These pages aren't part of the story. These pages give us a summary of what Oscar found out. He found out about beginnings, food, and getting bigger. Let's look at what he found out about beginnings. Living things begin in different ways. Do you remember the different ways that things begin? Some hatch out of eggs, some sprout from seeds, and some are born. How did you begin? On your next walk, you can look for living things that hatch, sprout, or are born. What did Oscar find out about food? He found out that all living things have to eat to grow. They need different kinds of food. Do you remember some of the different kinds of food that Oscar found out about? He found out that tadpoles eat pondweed, caterpillars eat leaves, and birds eat bugs. I want you to think extra hard about this one because you'll be writing about this week. What helped you to grow when you were very young? Think about what babies need to eat to help them grow. But what do you eat now that helps you grow? Getting bigger. Living things grow at different speeds. Do you remember what Oscar learned about the different speeds that a flower or baby birds, tadpoles, or trees, how they grow? What one grows faster, a flower or a tree? Yeah, a flower can grow up in just a few days, but a tree takes many years. How long will it take you to grow as big as your mother or father? Oscar thinks growing is great. Do you think so too? And that's the end of Oscar and the Frog, a book about growing. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.